Recording in progress.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll start. Hello, everyone. I am Ethan, head of DevRel at StonFi. I'm here with Andre, who's CMO and acting CBDO of StonFi. Good to be here with you, Andre.
Good to be here. Thank you.
I remember this is our second one we've done together. So I remember our first one was quite entertaining. Today we're talking about, everything cross-chain. We're calling it cross-chain without layover AMA. So we'll be talking a bit about the evolution of cross-chain, how we're seeing it from start till today, about maybe the current problems we're also seeing today, and what ways the ecosystem is improving that. And we'll deep dive into what the future would look like. But before we begin, at the end of this AMA, we'll be giving a special code that all of you will need. I can't tell you yet what that code is, or my life is at risk. No, I'm just kidding. But that will be used for something special. So make sure to take a photo of it, copy and paste. And later on, we will announce what you'll use that for. But without further ado, let's dive into it. So, days, cross-chain. I was even mentioning you to this. There was, I think, even during the Bitcoin days, there was usage of cross-chain back in like 2012 for different forked blockchains to move. But now we're in this like modern era. It's really been since 2020. We're using the same infrastructure, or parts of the same infrastructure. And it all really started with bridging. Many can actually say, and probably you agree with this, Andre, bridging term is getting strange, right? Because it used to mean like the concept of wrapped assets, but now I think a lot of people like to call it a settlement layer. So I apologize, guys, if we're jumping between saying bridging and settlement layer, but you'll understand that means both. But maybe Andre, you could talk a little bit about like for those who are kind of new to what cross-chain's about, like maybe you can dive into what bridging is, right? In blockchain.
Okay. Yeah. I agree that sometimes these terms, they can be confusing because, well, it all depends on the definition of a bridge, and different people, they mean different things when they say a bridge. Well, sometimes, I'm talking to some guys and they're saying like, we can use this bridge to do this and that. And I'm saying it's not a bridge, it's just like, they're saying like, but well, what I mean, it doesn't matter. It allows to move assets across chains, right? So then it's a bridge, which is not technically true because a bridge is like a specific solution, specific technical solution, which works in a specific manner and so on. But I don't think that we should speak about definitions because, well, they are confusing. But maybe we should speak about how they work and what is done. Mm-hmm. And initially, yes, initially it was all these cross-chain solutions. They were about moving assets between chains, right? So it was like for a user, it was okay. I have some asset on chain A. Let's say I have USDC on Ethereum, but I want to do something on a different chain, and it means that I need to move my assets to a different chain. So I need to somehow move my USDC on Ethereum to, let's say, USDC on Polygon, for example, right? And then they had to find this solution, and it was mostly bridges, and use a bridge to move these assets. So it was like, I think that it was the beginning, and actually it works like this now. Well, there are more solutions now, but still, bridges is one of the main parts of blockchain infrastructure, because there are dozens or maybe hundreds of different bridges and people are using them every day. And but it is mostly about moving assets. So I think that's how it started, and that's how it is still working in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a way, it's one of the layers, right? In a sense. But
Yeah.
why wasn't bridging enough though? Like, would you say, like, of what has been built continuously now with the different layers? I guess you could say it that way.
Yeah, but depending on enough for what, right? Because, well, sometimes people just want to move their assets for some reason. And in this case, a bridge can be a working solution. Well, they have their own, like, issues, but still it is a solution. Or yeah, it's a type of a solution which can be used. But, I think that in the end, people usually they don't want to just move assets between chains. They want to do something. And let's say they want to, I don't know, swap an asset on chain B, although they have assets on chain A, or they want to provide liquidity on chain B, but they have assets on chain A, or they want to put their assets in a vault or log them somewhere or something like that. But blockchains are isolated by their nature, by design. So they, in this case, people have to do something, and it means that they have to use a bridge, but they do not need bridging. They need it just because it doesn't work otherwise, right? They need it because they have to. But in the end, they want something different. They want, so let's say, swap tokens, or they want to use a vault, or they want to gain some yield, or something like that, or they want to rebalance their portfolio, and they want to have different assets on different blockchains. So they do not um, need a bridge or bridging as as a use case. They
Mhm.
just have to use it because otherwise they can't move assets across chains. Although there are other solutions for that, but bridges is one of them. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I can remember even in the earlier days of you actually did a lot of the bridging work because you had to, I remember you had to select the actual bridge you wanted to use, you had to select the route,
Yes.
right? You had to do
Correct.
a swap. And that changed a bit what's called like intent networks, right? So I know we all now don't have to actually do those actions. I can now kind of just say, I just want to, well, settle a token from Ethereum to Taunt. Like that's what I'm giving the application, and then it does it, right? I'd say easier today than the past, but we do have our problems today. You're smiling. Maybe you can share
Yeah,
those
well,
problems.
I'm not so sure that it works like this now these days because well we're still most people I think that they when they want to do something like that they still move assets across chains, which is not the final state. It is just what they have to. Well, okay, I have just realized that we can say that bridging in this sense is an intermediate step. So it's not like the final thing they want to do. It's
Mhm,
an intermediate step they have to take, otherwise it just doesn't work. But speaking about some of the other solutions, okay, we have these intent layers, intent protocols now,
mhm.
which basically capture the user's intent. That's what it's talking about. But I'm not so sure that we have lots of them. Well, we have some, but it is a relatively recent like solutions, so they did not exist a few years ago, and I'm not so sure that they work like you are describing because it is quite often it is much more complicated, and usually from what I'm seeing now is about swapping, which is not the only use case
Mhm.
like in crypto, right? It is just one of them, and yes, for swapping assets between chains, there are at least a few intent layers or intent protocols which can be used, and they work. Well, sometimes they have some issues because, well, every solution has some issue,
Mhm.
has some issues. Like bridges, they were like, first of all, it is scary quite often when you're trying to bridge your assets, but then you're waiting for a long time and you're not so sure that it'll be successful because sometimes, well, it may happen that you're, and I know such, I have never faced that personally. In my case, it was they always worked, except one case when I was waiting for, I think, about 20 hours for my tokens to be bridged. So they left my wallet on chain A, but they did not arrive to chain B. It was still like, loading, showing some loaders and saying like, all good, we need to wait. But it was scary. So this is like, that's an issue. But also bridges are very risky because they are one of the most attacked parts of the blockchain infrastructure, right? We know about lots of hacks. But well, there are other solutions. Well, lots of people, they use centralized exchanges to do that because it just feels not that scary. And yeah, there are different other solutions. There are messaging protocols, there are intent layers, and so on. But the question was about intent protocols. Yes, we have them, and I would say that in the ideal world, or maybe in the world that we will see them, not in the end, but maybe, I don't know, later. And basically, that's what we are building, is not to speak about all the technical, all these technical complex and complicated stuff, and not about, even speaking blockchains and so on. It's about capturing a user's intent and fulfilling it so that a user gets what they want in the end, but not some intermediate step. And but again, that's I mean, these kinds of solutions, they are being built right now, and that's what we're building as well. But I wouldn't say that these days we have some, an ideal intent protocol which works this way. Still, lots of stuff needs to be done.
I mean, I think of the intense network as like a coordination layer because some of these intense networks are using bridges too. It's like simplifying the front end for the user that they don't need to know there's all these steps going on behind the scenes. So we're like, I think we've shrunk it up. We shrunk it down the UX to I say an okay level, but even still, new beginners wouldn't understand that. And I guess this dives down into like they say there's like going to be 3 errors, right? Like we're in the multi-chain era. That's what they call it, and then they're calling it chain abstraction, right? That's like what we're supposedly going into, and that's like where these intent-based protocols allow for the UX experience to be more easier, not flawless. That would be what they call is like the agnostic, sort of like, I guess, chain agnostic approach. That's where we all want to go. But maybe we can talk a little bit about like, are we in this chain abstraction era, or what is chain abstraction? Maybe we can help the viewers understand more.
Well, again, I don't think there is a textbook definition, but I understand it like this. Say, chain abstraction means that a user interacts, let's say, with an application or with some kind of an outcome, but not with the all the underlying chain technologies, mechanics, and so on. So basically, it means that users, when we are in the chain abstraction era, which we are not currently, because we're now in the multi-chain era, but when we are there, users will be able to stop thinking about chains. So they will be thinking about what they want to do, and they will not think about blockchains. Well, they can think about it as of like, we are doing some blockchain stuff. I'm moving assets on blockchain or something like that. Or because, well, definitely they will still remember that that's blockchain. It's not like traditional banking system or whatever. But they will will be able to stop thinking about blockchains as isolated environments. So they will be able to think like, okay, I want to do something on chain B. Okay, forget about chains. I just want to do something. I want to put my, I want to lock my tokens in this vault. And they shouldn't, in this case, when we are in the chain abstraction era, they can forget about blockchains, about having assets on blockchain A, but this vault operates on blockchain B. They will be able to forget about wallets, different types of wallets, different wallets which can be used for different blockchains and so on. So they will just, I want to do this, and I'm not thinking about all the underlying blockchain stuff.
Let me play.
So that's how I understand this.
Yeah, let me play devil's advocate. Because I like self custody, and but you could argue a centralized exchange has solved that, because I can buy Sol with ETH directly on a centralized exchange right now. There is that actually UX feel where you're not thinking in a way what chain you're on, right?
Correct.
I mean, but obviously, maybe you can tell us why there's risk involved with that.
I don't think there are risks involved when you're using centralized exchange. Basically, for most people currently, it's a safer solution.
Yeah.
So the problem with that is that first, all these centralized exchanges, they have their own rules, regulations. Most of them, they are regulated, meaning that you have to provide a documents, all these KYC procedures and so on. And lots of people don't like that. Second, you have to deposit your funds, meaning that when you deposit anything to a centralized exchange, you no longer control your assets, because you don't have private keys for the wallets they are giving you. So they give you just an address. You send something to this address, but from after that, you no longer control your assets, because, we can say that they belong to a centralized exchange. Basically the same how it works with the banks. So when you put your money in the bank, you no longer have it, right? It's not your money anymore. It is bank's money, but a bank has an obligation to return it to you when you ask, right? Basically, it's the same with the centralized exchanges, but lots of things can go wrong in this scenario, because this exchange can be hacked, and we saw lots of such cases. They can block you for some reason. We're living in a crazy world currently.
Yeah. I mean, a good example is when sanctions happen to every Russian, right?
But
because your government can do something, you might lose. Especially these centralized exchanges can block you. So
correct. But have a list. But I have a list of countries, residents of which cannot use their services and so on. But we can imagine, and I know cases like this, when users first used something, but then these rules were introduced and they were blocked. I mean, these users, they were blocked. So it's not safe. And most people, those who are seriously in blockchain/crypto, they usually, first of all, we know that this saying that not your keys, not your assets, or not your funds, and which is true in terms of the centralized exchanges. And second, most people, those who have experience and so on, they never store their crypto on centralized exchanges. They just send it there, do what they want, and then withdraw, right? So there are some risks involved, the risks of these hacks or being blocked or something like that. But from the, I would say, safety point of view, and by safety I mean that in DeFi, when you use self-custodial products, when you make a mistake, it can be a final mistake, so you cannot recover anything. It's just you make a mistake and you lose your assets, which is very scary for lots of people. But in regards of the centralized exchanges, it is not true because usually they can help you recover, right? Recover your assets, even when you sometimes when we I have made this mistake actually once. I've sent tokens to a centralized exchange, but I have forgotten to paste the memo, right? So it was like, well, it was lost. I mean, the assets were lost, but their support helped me recover it. It was a
Hmm.
paid service. I had to pay $40, I think, but still, they controlled the assets. So it was more or less okay. And what was the question again? So about the
Oh,
risk.
I
So
was
we can
telling a
say that
devil's advocate of that. Well, maybe
yes.
centralized
So
exchanges is there at this where you don't field the token, but you still do because you still have, if you want to deposit in the chain, you still have to go, okay, I need to select my Ethereum wallet for Ethereum or my Solana wallet. You're still like needing to have multiple wallet addresses to know to send, right? So there is still a little
yes,
bit of
yeah,
that. In my opinion, when we feel it's like chain agnostic and everything, we don't feel unified. There's almost like a unified wallet address for all the chains.
yeah, maybe, but in this case they are not. Again, it is not chain abstracted because it is,
Yeah,
again, it is multi-chain. So basically,
exactly.
on a centralized exchange, you have multiple wallets, a separate wallet for every blockchain, and you have different addresses. Well, they can sometimes look the same. Well, not no, no, they're not. I mean, like in theory, EVM addresses they are the same, but on
Yes,
centralized exchanges they're different because they need to know where to deposit.
exactly.
So, but so it is multi-chain, meaning that you have access to multiple blockchains. But yes, wallets are different, addresses are different, and so on.
Hmm. Hmm.
But again, so I like lots of people
Yeah.
from DeFi they say that we hate centralized exchanges and so on. I don't say that because I think that they can be used. I mean, DeFi solutions and self-custodial solutions and uh, um, centralized exchanges and all these centralized solutions, they can be used for different use cases and by different target audiences. So it is totally fine that we have different types of products, and I personally use I use centralized exchanges, but I also use decentralized exchanges and protocols. So
Yeah,
it's
'cause
totally fine to use
yeah.
both.
Yeah, I mean, with decentralized protocols, there is better DeFi opportunities than what like a
Yeah,
centralized exchange
yeah,
can
yeah,
give.
in a way,
Um,
but lots of centralized exchanges. First, lots of them they're launching some DeFi products, or they call them Web3 products, and so on. First, and second, now, well, initially, yes, they were used for trading, or yeah, trading, but now the lots of them they're introducing additional capabilities. So again, we have. Uh, some have lots of they have some advantages. Okay, I'll put it like this.
mhm, mhm. Okay, let's steer back to the cross-chain subject.
Okay, yeah.
And let's kind of so we talked about, a bit of intense base, but let's move back to the bridging, but the settlement layer. We'll call it the settlement layer.
Oh, okay.
There is a new there's new versions of a settlement layer, and one version that we're working on. So I want to dive into what we call sort of atomic settlement, or atomic networks. We can is a good way to call it. And this is different because there's no asset being wrapped. There's not a concept of burn, like mint or burn. Like there, we didn't go into that, but some of you who are listening have know there's different approaches. But what's the difference? And actually, first, let me start over. Let's have you talk about what atomic like a settlement would be, and like how it works, and what we're like currently working on right now in Stonfi that sort of ignites this.
Okay, I'll get back to this in a minute, but I think that you said something interesting about settlement layers and about bridging, and that you can forget about bridging and mint and burn or something like that. But which is, I don't think it is entirely true because, well, sometimes um, uh, there are different layers which are visible to users. So sometimes they think that they, you know, use this product, but in reality, they are using multiple products like
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Let's say you use a wallet, but actually, wallets these days, these are not so simple solutions. They have lots of other protocols built in and so on. And basically, when you, let's say you make a swap, so initially there were no swaps in wallets. So but wallet actually is not the correct term again because it's not a wallet. It is just a
Mm.
UI that helps you to check your, let's call them blockchain balances, which is not technically correct, but just for simplicity we can say so. But then, of course, there was competition. They needed to add additional like features, and let's say then they had a swap feature. But well, for a swap feature, you need to have additional protocols because they don't work without these protocols. And now they have lots of features, lots of wallets have lots of features, and it means that when you're using, let's say, a wallet, basically under the hood they're using like a dozen of different protocols. And
Mhm.
now when we are interacting with any crypto and with any blockchain, we think that it's very simple. Like, okay, so there is, let's say, a DEX or a swap application, a swap protocol, and so on. But under the hood, it's like lots of different stuff. They use oracles. They use, I don't know,
DEXs.
some
Yeah.
DEXs, liquidity pools, private liquidity, all the connected to this instant layer, RFQs and so on, escrow contracts, lots of different stuff, right? Users quite often, they don't know this and they don't need to know that. But it's not that simple. And speaking of which, so I wanted to say that when you're saying that, let's say an intent or a settlement layer, uh, uh,
Well,
when
not
you use
intent. It
that,
wouldn't
you can
be a
forget it.
it wouldn't be a settlement layer intent. It's I guess you call it a coordination layer, but because it is using
Maybe,
it is using
but
a settlement layer. But it's okay. This is jargon though. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But my point is that this protocol, it can use a bridge under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So quite often users don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, okay, so I'm thinking that I'm using some kind of an intent protocol, let's say to swap tokens, but in the end, it may happen that this protocol uses a bridge. And since we are very early actually, and there are different types of these protocols, and there are different approaches and different solutions, and everyone wants to, let's say, there is a company which is building a new protocol for, let's say, these settlements, right?
Mm-hmm.
They Everyone wants to have a competitive advantage, which means that they're trying to invent something to be different and to differentiate. And in this case, well, it is virtually impossible to say that we understand all these protocols because they are like we have lots of them. They are all different. We do not fully understand how they work under the hood, and so on. And so, well, maybe a user in this case can forget about a bridge or about, mint and burn, or there is more complicated stuff like messaging protocols, which are also used for this stuff, but they do not move assets, they move instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe users don't need to know that, but still,
But
it is all very it's
users do
complicated. Yeah.
want the sort of the cheapest cost to whether it's swapping cross chain or moving. They also want speed, right?
Speed and
And
reliability
and we
and
have
safety.
and there is the cross chain aggregators, these different protocols that are um, basically aggregating all these many different protocols with their own solutions with bridging, right?
Yeah.
And in a way, like, with that becoming more popular, as a user, you're going to, okay, they're making it simpler. They're also improving the UX because it's showing
Yep.
the exact route. You see the speed of what you're getting and then the cost total, right? And so a lot of
Yep.
times they're aggregating on the best price that you're going to get on that cross-chain
Usually,
aggregate.
yes. Yeah.
So so in a way, like maybe that the the future usage of these type of protocols, or even these protocols are integrated with wallets. Um, they are even right now. A lot of wallets are doing that. Like there's, I would think there's also these infra layers that allow you to integrate them, like Li-Fi, for example. And what they're
Yeah.
doing is they're integrating like 10 different execution layers and finding the best route for the user, right?
Yeah.
And then you
But
have
they're
cross-chain
optimizing.
aggregators integrating the Li-Fi and other infra providers. So it is a little bit of a mess behind the scenes. But in the end, the user just
It
wants cheap
is.
price. User wants the cheap, fastest price, maybe? What do you think?
I usually do not agree with this. So there is always a trade-off, and I think that well, some users in some situations want the cheapest price. Let's say when they want to move, let's say, stable coins across chains for some reason, and it is a significant amount. Well, in these cases, yes, you want to have the cheapest price because it's a stable coin, right? You
Mhm.
just you want to have one-to-one ratio, and but then I think that lots of people they also think about reliability, about safety and speed. And mm, as a marketer, I usually say that we shouldn't we like in general when we are marketers, when we are building products, we shouldn't think about just the price because well. For the cheapest price, you get usually bad service, or there are some other trade-offs and so on. So usually it's a combination. So it is like this marketing speech about values, benefits, gains, and so on. But usually it's a combination because a user has to pay something. Not just money, but sometimes it is efforts or their like fears or something. Because again, it's a toll. When you are afraid of something, basically that's your payment. And then risks again, it's a payment as well, and then they get something in return. And quite often they don't want the cheapest price, they want something which is good for them under these conditions. And sometimes it's the best price, sometimes it's the fastest speed, sometimes it's the most reliable solution ever, although it's not the cheapest one. So
Mhm.
it depends. But yes, I agree that
So press to
what we're
that.
seeing now
Mhm.
currently, they are optimizing for price. So that's what we did when we were building Omniston, and we were still building it, but we were comparing Omniston to different protocols, and we were checking what's going on. Of course, as um, when we're just checking visually or manually. We don't know what's happening under the hood in these
Mhm.
protocols, but we can see that, well, at least we can guess, it's an educated guess that they optimize for price. And they show you the best price. And basically that's what they're saying, that when a user wants to do something, we can even forget about cross moving assets across chains when we're thinking about, let's say, some kind of a use case. And the basic use case is swapping tokens.
Mhm.
They say that yes, these, let's say, for instant-based protocols, there are these parties which are called resolvers and sometimes solvers, but then uh, these protocols in their documentation, they're saying that these resolvers, they compete based on price. So there is an auction, and those who provide the best price, they win
Mhm.
an auction. Um, yes, but again, let's get back to your question, because your question was about
Well,
it.
now,
It
I
sounds
mean,
like
in a way, it was leading up to what is Omniston. So for everyone listening, right? They heard you mention Omniston. I hinted about what the type that it is in a way. It's a settlement layer,
yeah, it
uh,
is,
right?
or
And
it
so
will be.
It will be, but
That's our plan.
it's like intent based as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you can kind of like explain uh exactly what Omnistone is, like how it works. A bit behind the hood, but not too complicated, obviously.
Okay. So Omniston is the protocol we built, and it started as a cross-chain protocol. Well, okay, yeah, it started as a liquidity aggregation protocol, so that when users want to swap tokens on Ton blockchain, because initially it was built on Ton, and they wanted to get the best price, it could aggregate liquidity from different liquidity sources, from different liquidity pools, and so on.
From Jayton to
Uh,
Jayton swaps for
for
people that
example, yeah, from JTON to JTON, from meaning from a ton-based token to a ton-based token. But our initial plan was to go cross-chain so that users can swap tokens across chains. Let's say they want to swap their USDT, ton-based USDT to USDC on Base. So that's what we started building, and that's how it works now. But then again, it's not about using intent. It is about moving assets between chains, and that was our understanding back then. But it changed because now we are evolving, and our products are evolving with us, or we are evolving with our products,
Mhm.
and we realized that we should actually forget about being just a cross-chain swap protocol, because it is, again, um, like that's true for bridging, but that's true for any cross-chain stuff, including Omniston, that when you just want to move assets between chains, it is quite often for lots of users, it's an intermediate step. So we wanted to introduce something bigger, and that's why we are now working on Omniston as a settlement layer, meaning that settlement slash intent based slash something layer, which can be used to fulfill or to perform, to fulfill, like to complete a user intent and to perform a task which a user wants to perform, because quite often it's not moving assets between chains. It is something different. Swap this over there, use prediction markets over here, use this vault over there, and so on. And in this, I would say, philosophy, it is not just about connecting chains. It is about uh, providing users with capabilities they want to do, and helping them do things they want to do, uh, and by allowing them to forget about chains. I know it sounds too complicated.
Mhm.
We need a different definition, but still, it is not about finding the best price. It is not, although the price can be the best, but it's not about, like, it's not the ultimate goal.
Mhm.
The ultimate goal is to allow a user uh, to perform a task they want to perform. And I have
Mhm.
provided some examples. And Omniston can be a technical solution which allows doing that. I mean, like from the technical point of view, well, yes, under the hood, there will be a cross-chain swap. For example, let's say
Mhm.
uh, a user, let's say, wants to log their tokens in a vault on chain B, but they have assets on chain A, right? Then they go to this vault, and let's say this vault uses our protocol, uses Omniston. And in this case, and if Omniston supports this vault, and if Omniston supports these chain, and it is our job to make that happen, then a user can just deposit or lock their tokens on chain B, although they have their assets on chain A. But they, in this scenario, they can forget about this. They just do what they want to do. Yes, technically, under the hood, Omniston can convert tokens from chain A to chain B, but a user doesn't need to know about that.
Mhm.
So that's That's what we are thinking about, and that's what we are building right now.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like because I guess we you can Omnistone has like almost a easy way of saying a cryptographic guarantee, right? When actually like
Guarantee, yeah.
it's like it either is going to happen, and if it's not in like it's literally 5 minutes, it returns to your wallet, which is like you were saying before, being scared when something's stuck for hours, right? On a
Yeah,
bridge.
that's the best part. That's the
Uh,
best part because for bridges and for different solutions, well, they are risky. Well, in a sense, and they have well, it may, in theory, a situation when assets leave chain A but never arrive to chain B. In our case, we use. I think that you mentioned that we use this notion of the concept of atomic execution.
comics. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in simple terms, it means all or nothing.
Hmm.
So it's atomic swaps or atomic transactions are transactions which are like uh, which can't be split, right? So they can either be executed in full or reverted. So, in simple terms, from a user's standpoint of view, is when, and again, it's the problem with lots of cross-chain solutions and with bridges, when a user goes to some UI and wants to, let's use a simple use case, wants to swap or move assets between chains, let's say they send 100 USDT and they want to receive 100 USDC. Let's say 99 because there are some fees and so on. But so that's what they are seeing in the interface. But quite often, if something goes wrong, they can receive less
Hmm.
because of price impact, because of slippage, because of hidden fees, because of some transaction fees, because of gas, whatever. Lots of
Price went
things
down
hidden over.
because of the
Yeah,
amount of time it
yeah,
takes.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So it is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So quite often, the result in the end after you actually get it. So you first send something, then you receive something, but sometimes you receive not what you expected. And in our case, since we use a simple solution, I mean, Omniston uses a simple solution and atomic execution, we can say that it is guaranteed.
Hmm.
So, first of all, well, there is protocol level, meaning that it works, it is designed like this. So, the protocol makes sure that uh, the amount which was promised would actually land to user's wallet first. And second, there is a UI layer because protocols can do something like this, but let's say an application user interface, they can show something different. Well, in our case at least, and because our application uses Omniston as well, we show what a user will get. It's the exact amount,
Hmm.
right? And yeah, it is provided by this atomic execution. So again, in this case, a transaction is either executed in full or it is reverted.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, I've been, so Omnistone has launched.
Yep.
We're like in our beta testing phase with our users on our application, right? So it is live. And for those like knowing, there is like a current limit that we have with executing these transactions. It goes up to just $1,000 per transaction. We will though evolve that. This is just for our testing purposes before we go full throttle. One thing though, and this is interesting, Andre, because I was have been testing it out more recently, even playing around with some cross-chain aggregators that already integrated us in the early stages. And I'm actually seeing where we are doing okay with winning routes compared to other providers. Just wanted to
Yeah.
let you know that. But one of the best things that I enjoy when I'm using OmniStone is the actual speed of the transaction.
Yeah.
It's literally, it's between 10 to 15 seconds. Boom. It almost
It
feels
is fast.
it's I mean, even like some of the fastest like you can consider near intense pretty fast, but the fastest you can go with near intense is like a minute and a half. But sometimes it can go 15, 20 minutes, right? During those issues where it gets stuck. But with OmniStone, it doesn't get stuck. If that ever does happen, at a minimal rate it ever happens right now, it will be just sent back to you pretty quickly
Yep.
within 5
Yep.
minutes. And that's what's great about it. It's the same amount you put in, gets exactly returned to you. And there's none of those issues with stuff being stuck in the middle. One thing I wanted to bring up, because this is kind of neat, I saw yesterday, right? It was announced, so I'm allowed to say this, that Predictions is a mini app, right?
Yeah.
On Telegram right now called Predictions.
It's
It's
called Predict. Yeah.
Predict. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So short for predictions, predict. Okay. And so something's really interesting with there. It's actually Polymarket, but what they did was, it's like Ton, it's basically bringing Ton into Polymarket. So,
Yeah.
maybe you could tell a little bit like how is this possible? And obviously it's using Omnistone. So, but maybe you can kind of tell us how has that is that possible? It's powered by Omnistone. The user experience feels like I'm depositing USD. I think it's USDT on Ton. I'm depositing it there. I'm making prediction bets, and then I withdraw. It goes back on Ton. How is that not a native Ton application, Andre? What's
Um,
the reason that's not a native Ton application but feels like it?
I don't, I don't
That's a trick
know.
question because it's using Omniston.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know, but well, it is not like I think that I'm not competent enough to speak about all the Telegram applications and about this product, which is not our product, but
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just know that it exists, and yeah, and of course I know that it uses Omniston, but yes, the idea is well, first of all, I think that anyone can use Polymarket API to build their own prediction markets. Maybe
Mhm.
there is some kind of a KYB process, I don't know, but still, I mean, technically it is doable. So these prediction uh, platforms like Polymarket, they provide APIs which can be used to build your own application. But that's the first part. The second part is about, well, yes, using some protocols to improve the user experience because, well, for Polymarket, you have to deposit. I think that now it's PUSD, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. You put
I think so.
yeah, PUSD.
So yeah, it's PUSD, so it's a stable coin by Polymarket on Polygon. But yeah, the problem is that if you want to take part in the prediction markets, if you want to trade, they call them trade shares, how they call them.
Hmm.
You have to have Polygon or some kind of an EVM compatible wallet. You have to you have to have PUSD, and you have to have Pol for gas. Pol is the former Matic. It was called Matic, right? So it's the native coin on Polygon. But for some people, it can be well, complicated, right?
Hmm.
And then the best part is that now, since this application, this product, they use Omnistone, it means that users um, can go directly to the product without thinking about Polygon, Pol token, PUSD token, and so on. They can just use their USDT on Ton to take part in these prediction markets using this application. And this application uses Omniston, which does exactly what I was describing. So
Hmm.
technically, Omniston can convert some tokens A to tokens B across chains and so on, but users don't know that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
The only thing they know is that now they can use a different application uh, to trade polymarket shares or the representation of these polymarket shares, but they do not need to use Polygon and they don't need to have these tokens. Um, it doesn't mean that it is the best solution for everyone because
Yeah.
obviously there are people that do not use Ton but use Polygon. And I think it is good that there is this diversity. So some people choose to use Polygon; they like it for some reason, and
Mhm.
that's cool. But some people just use Stone, and in the end, protocols like Omnistone, which can not just move assets between chains, but uh, which can be used to fulfill this user intent. They can be used for this, and it'll be good for all these users, because that's how not only blockchains are connected, which is good, by the way, but
Mhm.
also uh, they're connected in a way that users do not need to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
like the like if we were just going to do this manually, I'm on Ton. I want to bet on Polymarket. I would use Omniston to do a cross chain to PSUD. I would check my MetaMask wallet. Okay, I got my PSU, I got my
yeah,
PUSD. I then now go to the browser, a web app of Polymarket. I deposit, and then I start betting. But what this UX is literally I'm connecting my Ton wallet. I'm depositing USDT. And then what's all of what I
correct,
just explained is just happening in the background. You don't need to know, right? That's
correct.
the beauty of
Yeah,
it all. And this is like a very neat approach that can be used for anybody to do. I mean, the ideas are endless, right? You could create a mech. I could be on taunt. What's the most popular perpetual dex, for example? What is the most popular?
Hyperliquid, I think.
Yeah, okay, Hyperliquid. You could literally bring Hyperliquid right on Ton with that same concept.
The exact same use case.
And
So,
vice
well, the use case
versa.
is different because these are prediction markets. There's
Yeah.
the superb decks, but I mean that um, from like the concept is the same. That well, you have to in both cases you have to deposit. So
Mhm.
you have to deposit to Polymarket, you have to deposit to Hyperliquid. And for both cases, protocols like Omnistone or better, Omnistone can be used, right? Because it is just, yeah, yeah,
So anyone
that's it.
builders thinking out there, Hyperliquid on Ton on, or actually it would be Ton on Hyperliquid, right? That would be the way
Yeah.
of saying it. Or Ton on Lido.
They're gonna
Ton
be,
on
no, it's like,
wait,
it's not Tom. It's not like,
wait, how would we it,
yeah,
or bringing
that's the
Hyperliquid onto
idea.
Ton. That's what it is. It's like
Not
bringing
answer
Hyperliquid
time.
onto Ton.
Not answer time in the end, because users can forget about, time. They can forget these names.
Yeah,
Well, of
but
course, there are power users who will always know all the blockchain stuff. They will know what blockchains they're using, what assets they're using, what assets they're holding, in what wallets and in what vaults. Yeah, I don't know all this stuff. There are sophisticated users. They will always be, and but I think it's not when we're thinking about adoption of this technology, and we've been talking about this like for years. But and I can't say that I mean the whole industry is very successful, because it is still complicated. But such use cases and such protocols, they can help this industry move in the direction when it is more easily adopted by, I would say, normies, so who don't want to think about it. They heard something about prediction markets, so they heard something about this, you know but Dex, maybe they don't use these words, but they heard something at least, and they want to use that, but currently it is too complicated for them.
Mhm.
But such tech, it can help them, and as well.
And that's where, I mean, I really like that just UX example, making it feel like something is native,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that,
it is, well,
yeah.
in a sense.
And but this only can really work if it's fat, if there's speed. Uh,
Correct.
it just doesn't work for a lot of different protocols, but for this it does. And also you know exactly what you're going to get, right? When that cross chain happens, and that's really needed uh, for these type of concepts. So I see we have 4 minutes. I kind of wanted to talk about.
Right.
Oh, I mean, we have 1 hour,
My
right?
calendar, okay, I don't know, my calendar says that we are finishing in half an hour. Maybe it was just like, okay, it
So we
was just
started.
an
Yeah, it was.
additional.
Yeah, we were. Well, we could keep going. We'll go on. We could go all day. Because I wanted to talk. Like, I guess we have been. We are diving into the concept of like chain agnostic. I guess approaches. So with you talking about Omniston, these type of concepts, but like. You were mentioning, I guess this will be like the last thing. You were mentioning, the perfect world is not knowing you're on different blockchains when when you're doing your DeFi finance, right? Um, do you think it's going to be like sort of a specific application that just has the perfect UX behind all these players, right? We talked about all the mess behind in the background that's happening with these cross-chain transactions. There's many players involved. It's almost like our geographical trading right now. What do you see this as like one product being like just superior in their UX, having the best idea to utilize all these systems, or is it more like the players behind the scenes simplify, and then it's the UX is possible? Or what's your thoughts? Like I've been trying to think of this. Like, how does that world come about where you don't know? Like, I don't need to. I'm Ethan. This is my crypto account. That's universal. I don't really care what chains are behind me, but Andre, send me some money.
That's a good use case. But first of all, speaking about applications and about like an ideal application, uh, why do we say like an ideal application from a use case point of view? We can imagine some kind of a super app, but I hate super apps. I don't
Mm.
like them because I like specialized apps. So that I use a wallet to do this. I use this application, let's say trading application, to do that, and so on. Well, at least for me, it is easier. So I think that is very difficult to say how such an application can look because, well, maybe there are use cases which we don't know now, but they will appear in the nearest future, and we will have applications for that, or they will be built into some other applications, and the best candidates are wallets because, well, these wallets currently they are adding new features, although there are wallets which prefer not to add all this fancy stuff, and they prefer just to have like the basic functionality, which is very good, at least for some blockchains, let's say for Bitcoin. But it's a very different story because there is no like all the capabilities on Bitcoin network, they are so limited. And well, it is. So I don't have any idea about like a use case this application can, or a new use
The
case.
biggest
But
question.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. But what we have, like, yeah, we have wallets, we have swaps, we have
Mm.
prediction markets, we have trading, and we have what else? Vaults, I think. Yeah, and adding different types of products where you lock your tokens to gain some yield. So it can look different for different applications and different use cases. But speaking about like how it is shown to a user, regardless. Okay, I mean, let's forget about the like the use case. Yes, so it can be different. Like there are multiple use cases. But speaking about how it looks to a user, well, I think that in the end it'll be what we can call like chain agnostic or chain abstracted. I don't know which term is the best one in this case. But okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say let's say you open your MetaMask wallet, and then you have to choose you have to choose networks, right? Because it supports multiple event networks, meaning that, but if you want to see your assets, let's say on Ethereum, you choose Ethereum. Then you want to see your assets on Base, you have to choose Base. And a few days ago, I had a heart stroke, because I mean that I knew that I had some assets on MetaMask. I opened it and it was saying zero. I was like, what? Why zero? And like in maybe 10 seconds, I realized that like a wrong
Selected on the
blockchain
wrong
was
chain.
selected.
Yeah.
Yes, then I selected
They
it
do have a
back
new
and
feature
all was
though.
good.
You can now do all, but
Why
it's still a
so?
mess. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean like it is just an example.
Yeah.
So I think that currently these like this UX, it is very isolated. So it is defined by blockchains. Blockchains are isolated. It is reflected quite often. Usually, it is reflected in the interfaces, and I think that it'll change so that users won't they won't have to think about it. They will know nothing about all this stuff. They will just know that okay, I have some kind of a crypto application, and it has everything over there, and I don't need to think about all this, well, again, they will have to know something about blockchain, at least that they're using it. Or maybe not, maybe not. Maybe we can imagine a use case when they go to, let's say they use these prediction markets, but they don't know that these prediction markets use blockchain. Yes, I think it's a very good example because,
Mhm.
these prediction markets, they use blockchains because this is how it works. They have to use it because otherwise, they use they use some advantages of the blockchain technology,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Meaning that it makes sure that ensures that no one actually controls the result, that no one can fax it, that no one can fake it, and so on. So there's the correct usage of blockchain tech.
Mhm.
Uh, but again, yeah, normal people, they don't need to know that. They just,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I'm using this, let's say, predict,
Yeah.
and that's it. They
I
don't
can
need to know about blockchain.
I can imagine a wallet play here because a wallet that has every chain but has good UX, you don't have to, when you're using these protocols, or you don't really, I mean, it's almost like you can spark directly in the wallet, do a cross chain, right? That's using extra settlement layers, that will in the future, like Omnistone.
Yeah.
But you, at least when you're connecting to a protocol with like the everything wallet that has all the chains, you worry less about, because like right now I'm a mess. Everything's fragmented. I'm like, I can't even actually tell you, I wouldn't be able to calculate what's my holdings in crypto right now because I'm just fragmented with many different wallets that are sitting in different protocols, and it's a mess. Right.
Yes, it
So,
is. It is.
and a normal person wouldn't do this. I'm just a nerd. So, um, like, I'm hoping that, like, so I wouldn't mind maybe, but to be honest, I mean, I guess you could consider some of the best wallets right now that's more multi-chain is Phantom, and MetaMask. Phantom has better UI, UX, I think, but MetaMask is also a mess and scary. And Ethereum's scary. Like, at least with, I know with Ton, you're not gonna be like, you're not gonna connect to an application saying like sometimes you connect and you give all your access to the scammer, right? You don't do that on Ton, but
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that's a lot of times. I know
Well,
MetaMask kind of
it
fixed
is
that, but
technically possible on some.
well, if
It's
for a
technically.
transaction, if they send you a transaction, so you
Yeah.
would go, I'm going to do a transaction of all these tokens. That can happen anywhere. But there is,
Uh, it's a
but
different story, but I think yeah, drain is different. Well, again, it's
okay. I
let's
just
get back
haven't
to
come across
yeah.
that yet in Ton. But I do have to dig deeper on that then. But yeah. Um, but okay. Yeah. So we are out
So
of time.
we'll see. So
We're
we
five
don't,
minutes over.
we don't have a good answer to that, and
Yeah.
but that's because it is like speaking about the future. So we don't know what will happen, but what we know, and I'm sure that we will have what is isolated and fragmented now, and very technically complicated. It'll be simplified, it'll be unified, and
Mhm.
so on. So again, if we as an industry want to get higher adoption of this tech, we will have to figure this out. We will have to invent new ways so that users, it is very user friendly, and users don't need to think about all the technical stuff, because when they use their banks, They don't think about it, right? They don't think that in every transaction there are two banks involved, and they are not moving assets between. Like when you go to a store and when you're paying with your card, you're not thinking that okay, now
Well,
I
there's
need to
many
move my
players involved
funds
in that.
from
Yeah.
my bank to like the bank which serves this specific shop, this store, right? You're not
Yeah.
thinking like this,
Yeah.
but
And it's actually, I think
technically
it's more
that's how it
complicated.
works.
Banking system is more complicated behind the scenes
It
than
is.
I would
It
say
is.
our
It
system,
is.
blockchain area.
Correct. But users don't know that.
Yeah.
And it just works seamlessly for them.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just go to a store, they pay with their credit card, that's it. In crypto, it works differently now. It is very different. And that's what we're changing. And that's what I know for sure. That so either this industry dies or or it'll be simpler, and more user friendly.
And the stable, I really do. I don't know if you guys have tried. I don't know if you've tried the wallets where you have your own like Visa card, and you just hold your stable coins there, and you can just
Yeah.
make payments everywhere. They're getting to that feel. I think one of them that's pretty good. It's on what's called it's Plasma One, and it's Plasma Chain. It's pretty cool because it's like I can hold while I'm holding my USDT stablecoin, I'm earning yield from, I don't know if they've
Yeah.
used Athena or they were using Aave. I can't remember what they're using, but you're earning yield while it just sits. It's like, and then you're just making payments from your stable coin. It's getting converted to fiat.
Yeah.
In the conversion rates, I'm surprised they're pretty damn good compared to banks. And I don't know how some of these players are doing it with these stablecoin cards, but that's a whole nother sort of element that's jumping in that I think will bring more people on chain when they know the benefits, especially with, earning yield from holding your stable coins in a wallet. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have to wrap it up. We've gone over time. For everybody, just to remember that we are posting a QR code. Our colleague Arena, who is also on the chat, you can see up there, is going to post on YouTube and X. Make sure you check it out, copy it, take a photo, just have it ready because you are going to use this in the future for something that we will announce, and you'll benefit from it because you stayed and listened to Andre and I ramble about different subjects with Crosschain. Thanks a lot, Andre, for coming on.
Thank
Always a
you.
good discussion. I look forward to the next AMA we do together. Um, but yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, Ethan. Yeah, it was a good conversation as always.
Yep. All right. Everyone, have a good Wednesday and take care. Take care and keep swapping and make sure to try out Omniston. It is right now live on ston.fi. Try out our cross chain and let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, guys.